Yo, what's good, YouTube? It's your boy Teflon Perk. For those of you who are new, make sure to subscribe to my channel. And for those of you who are returning and are new, make sure to like the video because it gives me motivation and it helps me in the algorithm. But thank you again for watching the video. So in this video, we're going to be talking about the not so early season awards for the NFL. Now, I know we're past that 3/4 mark of the season where now it's becoming clear who's going to run away with these different awards. So some of these aren't really hot takes. However, there's still some awards that are up for debate and there are still some very tight-knit races going on in the NFL for these awards. So we're going to start diving into it. And again, before I dive into it, make sure to hit that like button, but let's get it. So first off, we have the MVP award. Now this award is difficult for me because personally I am an Eagles fan in real life. However, for the whole season I've been saying that Hurts is the MVP. Hurts is the MVP. But now I have to give it to Mahomes. The things that Mahomes is doing this season is just, it's out of this world. And when you also pile on the fact that Jalen Hurts already missed a game and he's scheduled to miss another one, so that means he's missing 2 games, it kind of hurts his MVP chances. Now we're going to pull up the stats real quick because Patrick Mahomes is just doing something different this year. He has 4,700 passing yards right now, and we still got a couple games left to go in the season. He's about to easily eclipse the 5,000 passing yard mark, the 40 touchdown mark, and his quarterback rating has been 105. That is ridiculous. He's like the Steph Curry of the NFL right now. Now, I won't even say Steph Curry. I'm going to say more like LeBron, because there's been seasons where LeBron was clearly the best player in the league, but may not always be the MVP winner, if that makes sense. And I feel like that's the point that Patrick Mahomes is getting to, where we're so sick of him being so good that we're going to get to the point where we take his greatness for granted. But what he's doing this season is just out of this world. He's leading the NFL in passing yards by 500 yards to second place. He's averaging over half a yard per attempt over second place. His completion percentage, while having the most yards in the NFL, is still at 66%. He has 37 touchdowns and 11 interceptions. The interceptions he could clean up, but you could also make the argument that a lot of his interceptions have to do with the Chiefs offense just placing so much on him and his ability to make plays, to be able to make something happen out of nothing. And with his team record being the way it is, nobody expected, well, I'm not going to say nobody expected the Chiefs to be this good, because the Chiefs didn't really lose any major pieces besides Tyreek Hill. But again, with Tyreek Hill being the top 3 leader in receiving yards this season, that's still a pretty big thing to lose. He lost, I wouldn't say his best weapon because he still got Travis Kelce, but he definitely lost his most explosive weapon, and he still not only maintained a certain level of play, but he almost got even better. And the Chiefs offense looks more balanced than it ever has. So at this point, I gotta give it to Patrick Mahomes, even though I'm a big Jalen Hurts fan. But again, that leads us to a runner-ups, and that's Jalen Hurts for the first one, because Jalen Hurts, he's doing stuff that we haven't seen yet. So far, he broke the Eagles franchise record for rushing touchdowns, and it's looking like he's not slowing down anytime soon. Granted, he was out last game, and it looks like he's going to be out this game against the Saints. However, that does not take away from what he's been doing so far. Right now, he has, in terms of passing, he has 3,472 passing yards, 22 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions. He has missed last game against the Dallas Cowboys, and he looks like he's going to miss this game against the Saints. However, that does not take away from what he has done so far. His QBR rating has been a 68.7, and his completion percentage has been 67.3. However, again, the passing yards doesn't tell you the whole story of Jalen Hurts and why this season has been so special. And part of that is because of Nick Sirianni and the run pass option, and basically building the system around Jalen Hurts. Something that we don't see happen a lot with these young QBs in the league. You kind of get thrown to the wolves, thrown into these systems, and it's nice to see for a change a young prospect. Kind of similar to what happened to Patrick Mahomes when he first started starting for Kansas City and took over Alex Smith's job. Kind of what happened is the same thing that's kind of happening with Jalen Hurts right now. But his rushing stats is really what sticks out to me. Right now, in 14 games played, Jalen Hurts has, on 156 attempts, he has 747 yards. He could very well reach that 1,000-yard mark, and he for sure would definitely have reached it if he not out these 2 games. And he was very well on track to get that. He's averaging 4.8 yards per carry, which is ridiculous for a quarterback. And not all of these are just scramble, end of the play, okay, let me figure out what I'm going to do type runs. There are systematic runs designed by Nick Sirianni and his offense to maximize Jalen Hurts' legs. Jalen Hurts has a strong running ability that we haven't seen in a minute from the quarterback position. Like, we see Lamar Jackson on the Ravens, and Lamar Jackson has that speed that almost reminds you of Michael Vick back in the day. However, Jalen Hurts, being one of the strongest squatters on his team, uses that power running. He may not be the fastest runner, however, his quick cuts and the way he's able to plant his foot in the ground is what makes him so lethal coming off the line. If you combine Jalen Hurts' yards in only 14 games, he has over 4,100 combined scrimmage yards from the quarterback position. So again, you may look at just his passing yards and it may be like, okay, Patrick Mahomes is a clear, obvious answer. However, it is not that easy of a decision. Jalen Hurts is having an incredible season, one of the best seasons we ever seen from an Eagles quarterback, and it's pretty safe to say that he's quieted all the doubters at the beginning of the season about what his fate was with this franchise. I think it's clear now the Eagles have to pay him. And then let's also not forget about Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow also has been having an amazing season. It may be overshadowed a little bit by what Patrick Mahomes is doing, but that does not take away from how he has been balling. And he's really trying to get his team back to the Super Bowl game. He has 4,200 passing yards this season with 7.6 yards per attempt, which is ridiculous. That's almost a first down every time he throws the ball. He has 34 passing touchdowns on 12 interceptions, and he has the second highest quarterback passer rating in the league behind Patrick Mahomes with 102.3 passing yards. With 102.3 passer rating. Joe Burrow is doing stuff that, like, it's kind of unfortunate. I kind of feel bad for Joe Burrow because if it was any other season, these are the type of stats that could easily win an MVP award. It's just Patrick Mahomes playing in the same conference as you and putting up the stats that he's been doing this season. Patrick Mahomes is having a Michael Jordan historic type season. Like, he's having that type of year. It's just hard to not give him the MVP, but almost any other year, these stats could easily win MVP, and I wouldn't be mad if Joe Burrow honestly won like offensive player of the year, so I wouldn't be mad at that. That's not a far-fetched take. He is balling. His completion percentage, even though the stats are pretty similar to Mahomes, yes, he has 500 less passing yards, but his completion percentage is 3 points higher, and his quarterback passer rating is only 3 points less. So you can make a strong argument that Joe Burrow is up there with the elite of the elite. In terms of the elite passers in the NFL, it's Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, and everybody else. Trevor Lawrence is on his way. Justin Herbert is on his way, but right now it's those three, and it's not even close. Now, next award we had the Coach of the Year award. So I think this is the obvious choice right now, and I don't think I'm being biased as an Eagles fan. Nick Sirianni, what he's been doing with this Eagles team is just amazing. First of all, we can even, I don't even got to start with this season. We can even take it back to last season, because last season the Eagles were able to somehow slip into the playoffs with a 9-8 record. We finished second in the NFC East. And of course, Jalen Hurts did not play well in the wild card playoffs. But again, you're playing against Tom Brady on the road in the playoffs. And they eventually went on, it's Tom Brady. It happens. Young quarterback, it happens. People forget about the win streak that went on at the end of the season to even get to the playoffs. They weren't supposed to make the playoffs, but they went on a win streak and made a final push. So that kind of gave Eagles fans a little bit of hope for the next season about Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts. At least give them another shot. And that shot has paid off because the Eagles are sitting at number 1 in the NFC conference with a 13-2 record. And they're looking like, assuming that they beat the Saints later this afternoon, is looking like the Eagles gonna have first round bye, home field advantage, and the ball is in their court coming playoff time. If you look at last season, what Jalen Hurts is looking like, and looking at now, is night and day. And yes, Jalen Hurts, he is a student of the game. He puts in that work. This is definitely the most improved player this year, no doubt about it. However, Nick Sirianni building the system around him is not something we see a lot in the league, especially for third-year quarterbacks. Nick Sirianni made sure to hone in on Jalen Hurts' strengths and made sure to build a team around him to believe in his strengths. They're going to be 13-2 right now and looking like they're about to get home field advantage because it looks like they're going to beat the Saints probably later today. And if they do, they get home field advantage and they get the first round bye. But when they do, that means that every team has to come to Philadelphia, come to the Lincoln Financial Field in late January, early February, and literally have to go snatch victory from that cold, deafening atmosphere that's the Link. So again, what Nick Sirianni's been able to do, this is one of the most historic seasons that the 8 regular seasons that the Eagles had so far, and Nick Sirianni's a huge part of that. So I think this is his award to lose, and at this point I don't think it's even close. I don't think there should be any debate that Nick Sirianni is the Coach of the Year this year. However, that does not take away from what Andy Reid is doing. And again, just like I said about Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid I think is becoming that on the coaching level, in terms of we're so sick of him being so great that it's hard hard to argue for him to win any award because we're just so used to it. But you can't take away from what Andy Reid has been doing with the Chiefs this year. The fact that the Chiefs are leading in their division, the AFC West, they have a 12-3 record. Now, granted, the AFC West is not what we thought they're going to be. The Chargers are barely getting above right now. It seems like they're getting it together. Justin Herbert is getting into his stride, and they could make some noise in the wild card, but I don't see them really getting past the Chiefs and the Bills and the Bengals. I don't see that happening. The Raiders just are a complete disappointment. They're a mess, and the Broncos are literally the laughing stock of the league right now. So the division is nothing to write home about. However, that doesn't take away from what Andy Reid has done. For him to lose Tyreek Hill and for the team to look like it got even better, it's insane. Like the Chiefs team looks like they haven't skipped a beat. Patrick Mahomes having a career year, and you gotta give Andy Reid his props. He just always done it. And me personally, being an Eagles fan, I always knew that Andy Reid's a Hall of Fame coach. I never thought it was his fault that the Eagles were losing, even when the Eagles let him go. It was never Andy Reid's fault. Even when he was in Philly, he brought the Eagles to 4 straight NFC championships when Donovan McNabb was a quarterback. All he needed was a Hall of Fame quarterback, and it is sending him to new levels. And that is exactly what Patrick Mahomes is. Patrick Mahomes is a transcending talent. Andy Reid is a once-in-a-generation coach, so he's easily the runner-up, but you can make a strong case for him almost any year that he should be coach of the year. Finally, we also have Brian Daboll. Right now, the Giants, they kind of slipped a little bit later in the season. However, that doesn't take away from the strong start for the season. Not only a strong start, but also the fact that they may make the playoffs, and a division that's arguably the best division in football right now. At least 3 teams in the NFC East are going to make the playoffs this year, and that's ridiculous because the NFC East, I remember literally a year or two ago, was the laughingstock in the NFL. Everybody calling it the NFC least. However, historically, the NFC East has been a strong division, and this year is really showing that because the NFC beast right now is going crazy. And Brian Daboll, listen, I don't know what expectations y'all have for the Giants this year, but I expected literally not much out of them, almost nothing out of them this year. I figured that this was just going to be another year to evaluate Daniel Jones and see if Daniel Jones is really the future of the league. I figured that teams had the Giants figured out already because it's literally hand Saquon the ball, and when that doesn't work out, well, game over. But it looks like that Brian Daboll really brought some belief back in his locker room. It looks like he's really made a culture change in his locker room that wasn't there before. And that kind of scares me as an Eagles fan because when you get the Giants some hope going into the playoffs, no matter what position they're in, history has told us that you need to be scared. But again, Brian Daboll, what he's doing with the New York Giants franchise, I think the future is bright for them. Now, is Daniel Jones their go-to franchise quarterback? That is to be determined based on how he plays in this playoffs and how he fares up against the other NFC East quarterbacks like Dak Prescott, Jalen Hurts, maybe even Taylor Heineke because Washington's still not out of it. But I digress. Brian Daboll is definitely up there with some of the elite coaches right now. Now he just needs to take that team to the next level in the next year or two to really make himself imprinted into this league and to keep his job. Next up, we got the Offensive Player of the Year award. And again, this award was kind of tougher for me to decide because it's normally a quarterback award, unfortunately, but there's so many different things that go into it. There's been some great non-quarterback players this year that are having historic seasons, having career seasons. So it's really hard, but for this award, if we're being logical, I'm gonna have to say Patrick Mahomes again, just because of the season he's having. 37 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, about to eclipse the 5,000 passing yard mark at this point. Patrick Mahomes' season is just different. Now, the runner-ups that I have, and you could easily make the case for them to be winning the Offensive Player of the Year award. Again, I think that Patrick Mahomes just has the advantage because it's always been a quarterback award for the most part, and his contribution is just crazy. However, you got Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs right now has 1,900 scrimmage yards so far, and we're only 15 games into the year. So that means that he could easily hit that 2,500 scrimmage yards mark. And his contribution for the Raiders, he's doing literally everything he can, and you can literally hear it in this interview, his frustration about the team situation. And honestly, I can't blame him. He's literally doing everything he can. His team's just not winning. That's not an indictment for this award because, again, it's not MVP award. This is Offensive Player of the Year award. So it's not about team record, in my opinion, for this award. However, I like he's doing everything he can for his team. He really is. But again, I just can't get over Patrick Mahomes. And then you can make the same case for Justin Jefferson as well. Justin Jefferson has been doing some crazy stuff. He has a total of 1,780 scrimmage yards. And in terms of receiving yards, he leads the league in receiving yards at 1,756 receiving yards. He's doing stuff that's just ridiculous. At the beginning of the year, it seemed like Tyreek Hill was going to easily be the receiving leader, the receiving champion at the end of the year. But it looks like Justin Jefferson is having his breakout year, and at only 23 years old, it's only looking up for him. He could end up being one of the game's best receivers. He already looking like one of the league's best route runners, and he's making Kirk Cousins look like the new Aaron Rodgers of his division this year. Yeah. So Defensive Player of the Year award wasn't as hard as the other awards. I have Nick Bosa winning this award easily. Right now, he's second in the league in tackles for a loss at 18. In first place, he's only 19, so he's only one behind. And in sacks, he easily leads at 17.5 sacks, which is 2 over second place. Just the impact that he's having in terms of lost yardage on sacks, he leads the league by 13. He's leading almost every pass rush category right now. And Nick Bosa, this 49ers defense is just looking ridiculous right now. Nick Bosa is a huge part of that. He's a huge leader on this defense, and a huge reason why Brock Purdy's able to play the way he's able to, why the run game's able. See, the thing with the 49ers that makes them so scary is they're able to control the game with their defense. Their defense is so elite that they're able to actually control the game with their defense. Brock Purdy doesn't have to be great. He doesn't have to be elite. He just needs to be a game manager. They just need to be able to run the clock because they know that defense will get off the field quick. And a big part of that is Nick Bosa and opposing quarterbacks having to worry about him coming across that line every single play. You have to watch for him. So Nick Bosa is easily Defensive Player of the Year if he keeps this up. Then right behind him, we also have Matthew Judon, best linebacker in the league in my opinion right now. He's second in the league in sacks, which is crazy. He's a linebacker. He has 15.5 sacks. His tackle for loss is 13, so he's easily top 15 for that. He's been balling out, but he's looking like he's definitely next up. Speaking of next up, we have Sauce Gardner as another runner up. And Sauce Gardner, he was a top 5 pick for the Jets, and right now it seems like the Jets, the only piece they can't get right is quarterback, because they struck gold with with Sauce Gardner. Sauce Gardner right now, he only has 3 interceptions. However, that does not tell the whole story of why he's been so awesome this season, because he still leads the league despite only 2 interceptions and pass deflections with 16. He is literally just a shutdown corner. It's to the point where, yes, you could argue he doesn't have as many, he's not even top 10 interceptions. We could also make the case too that because he's so shut down that teams, like quarterbacks, are literally hesitant to throw to his side of the field just because of how good he is. He is literally locked down. This is only his first year, and he's already looking like a top 3 corner in the league, and it's looking like it's only going to keep going up. The sky's the limit for him. So honestly, we're not even sweating him being a runner up, because he for sure will probably be in conversation for Defensive Player of the Year in years coming up. Next, we have the Rookie Award. For Offensive Rookie of the Year, we're going to have to give this award to Garrett Wilson. It's looking like Garrett Wilson is coming into stride with who he is as a receiver. It looks like he's been balling out. He hit the ground running. Now, granted, he doesn't have a great quarterback situation in New York. Zach Wilson hasn't been great. When Mike White's playing, however, he looks like a completely different player. Garrett Wilson definitely is running away with Offensive Rookie of the Year. But also right behind him, I have 2 other receivers. These are all receivers on my list for Offensive Rookie of the Year. I have Drake London. Drake London, his route running is ridiculous in my opinion. He is some of the best route running in the league just naturally. And I think it's only going to get better. And his run after the catch is what makes him so lethal. He gets yards after the catch. Garrett Wilson really doesn't. Like Garrett Wilson, he's a deep threat, but he doesn't get much run after the catch. That's where him and Drake London really differ. So Drake London is definitely looking like he's going to be one of the better receivers in the league. And then in addition, we also have Christian Watson. And Christian Watson looks like he's becoming a favorite of Aaron Rodgers. And trust me, as that chemistry keeps building, that's going to be something to watch out for in the future. Assuming that Aaron Rodgers stays with Green Bay next year, watch out for them going into a postseason run, because I promise you, if they get one full drama-free offseason together to work together, Aaron Rodgers is going to make him a really great receiver. Next, we also have Defensive Rookie of the Year, and that is Sauce Gardner. Of course, we already talked about him. You could argue that he should be Defensive Player of the Year in general. He's just been that good. He leads the NFL in pass deflections. He's been shut down. Like, just watch some of his film, you know what I'm talking about. No questions asked here. He's Defensive Rookie of the Year. So right behind him, you got Aiden Hutchinson. There's only been one game this year where he hasn't had at least 2 pressures. Despite the Lions looking like the Lions beginning part of the year, that didn't mean that Aiden Hutchinson wasn't producing. So he's a runner up. And then you also got Tariq Woolen, who is tied for first in the NFL in interceptions, you could definitely make the case for him. Granted, he is tied for first with CJ Gardner-Johnson on the Eagles. However, CJ Gardner-Johnson also has played 4 games less than Tariq Woolen. And it's kind of surprising to me that 6 interceptions is the league lead right now. That's really surprising to me. However, that doesn't take away from what he's been doing. He's a big part of the reason why Seattle's been looking the way they've been looking. And with Geno Smith looking like he actually could lead this team, and the Seattle defense kind of figuring out who it is, Tariq Woolen could be the best corner that the Seattle Seahawks have had since Richard Sherman, but that will all be determined. But right now it's looking great for them. And then finally, the award that I want to give for most improved player. I'm not even going to have a runner up for this because I don't feel like there deserves to be a runner up for this award. It's not even close. This is probably the most concrete award that there got to be this year, and that is Jalen Hurts. If you look at Jalen Hurts' production last year versus this year, it's night and day. He got more efficient in basically every type of way. Throwing the ball, running the ball, team record. His locker room believes in him. He makes the guys around him better. You can see the difference when he's not on the field. It seems like people are trying to discredit what Jalen Hurts was doing because they said that he has such a great team around him that he doesn't need to do too much. But right now we are learning that that's not the case. Jalen Hurts means more to this team than people know, and all of that is because of the work that he put in. He wanted to work out with Tom Brady's passing coach during the summer. Jalen Hurts is just putting in that work that shows that you can't just write him, and Geno this season has shown that you can't write people off. True example is that hard work beats talent when talent fails to work hard, because coming to the season, you couldn't tell me that Jalen Hurts is a top 5 talented quarterback in the league. However, right now, he's the top 5 quarterback in the league, arguably top 3. A huge part of it is because of his dedication to the game, him being a student of the game, him studying film, him working on his mechanics, him being a craftsmanship. He's a perfectionist, and he lives, breathes, and eats football, and that's the type of leader that you want. It's almost feeling like the culture that we had in the locker room in 2017 when Nick Foles stepped in, and how the locker room started believing in him late in the regular season. How it kind of felt like a shift, like the team was rallying around him. You can make the case we haven't ever seen such a drastic improvement by a quarterback ever in history from one season to another. Like, I don't think I've ever seen anything like this before, and Jalen Hurts looked like he is here to stay. I did say that I wasn't going to give a runner-up for this, but I will give my props to Geno Smith on the Seattle Seahawks, because everybody wrote him off. Everybody thought his career was done. When I heard that Geno Smith was still playing, I was like, hold up, he's still in the league? And he's starting? I was kind of confused, and I think a lot of people are just like me. Yes, it wasn't a bad trade. I always looked at it like a good trade, like first round picks for Russ, an Asian QB. Like, I'm not mad at that trade. However, I figured that they were just using Geno Smith to kind of tank and rebuild, and maybe that's what the organization thought was going to happen too. Everyone except for the players and Pete Carroll, because they knew something the rest of us didn't know. Because Geno Smith has been balling out this year, and he is easily a Pro Bowler this year, and it's looking like he's securing his spot. And now the Seahawks are in a good position to get him more weapons, get him more capital, and to see if he's really their guy next year, or they have to move forward. But again, it's looking good for them. So props to Geno Smith, props to Jalen Hurts, because they both have shown up, showed out, and deserve their money. And if you liked the video, make sure to like it, subscribe. I appreciate y'all for watching. Again, it's your boy Teflon Perp. Now we out. I'm gonna catch y'all next video.